Can we talk about indie games? I've seen a lot of people in the last year or so complain about smaller titles as if their very existence on consoles somehow devalues their hardware of choice or takes away from bigger games. Like the PlayStation 4 or the Xbox One can only have a certain amount of releases a year. Even just today I saw someone calling them half games, like they're somehow lesser. So let's take a look at this sector of games, and hopefully we can all learn to better appreciate video games as a whole. For starters, indie just means independent. It has nothing to do with budget or size or experience of the team. If after Metal Gear Solid 5 releases in September, Hideo Kojima announces that he's forming a new company with his old crew, and they were planning to put out a game without the aid or oversight of a publisher, that would be an indie game, even though his team has pumped out games since 1987. In the film industry, there is a sort of snobbery against mainstream studio-released movies. An army of pretentious critics salivating over the latest piece of celluloid from Terrence Malick or Jim Jarmusch. This would be fine if they didn't spend equal amount of time belittling the average film goer. Games have kind of the opposite problem. Tons of people who grumble and complain every time someone suggests they put down their first-person shooter for 5 minutes to try Shovel Knight or Gone Home. We are capable of bringing games to an intellectual discussion, but it feels like most gamers just want the same $60 package reorganized and renamed like fast food. If it doesn't justify their hardware purchase with 1080p 60 frames per second visuals, they don't care. Gameplay be damned. Which I really think is the heart of the issue. The only two factors that matter to a lot of gamers are graphics and how long the game is. You can tell them an experience is 2 hours long, or show them a cartoony or retro game, and they want no part of it. Having independently made games is important because the EAs and the Activisions of the world are leaving a lot of potential game ideas on the table. And I'm not condemning them for that, I'm just saying that they have a lot of investors to answer to, which is why they're in the business of only doing what has been proven to sell. Here's Call of Duty 2016 or Assassin's Creed Historical European Conflict 9, and in some ways that's okay. But that's why we need someone like Fractal Games or Red Barrels to come along and resurrect survival horror. Unless a miracle happens at E3 this year, Nintendo isn't making a new Metroid, and clearly Konami isn't doing anything with Castlevania. So we get indies to fill that void. Dust and Elysian Tale, Axiom Verge, Shantae, Cave Story, Ori and the Blind Forest, Guacamelee. There are at least 2 of these games released every year now because people that grew up with Super Metroid and Symphony of the Night are now able to make their own games. We've even gotten this weird phenomenon in the last couple of years where a publisher will refuse to use an IP, so the original creator will leave and then kickstart a game that's basically the same thing. We saw this with Keiji Inafune leaving Capcom because they weren't making any Mega Man games. And then he kickstarted Mighty No. 9, which is basically more Mega Man. And then just yesterday we saw the announcement of Bloodstain, a new game from Koji Igarashi, the creator of Castlevania. Outside of just genres that are being left alone, indie games tend to explore social issues more often. Most of the big games are afraid to even have a female protagonist. How can we expect them to touch on something actually interesting? Depression, paranoia, suicide, disease, hunger, poverty. We're all dealing with something. If you only play video games as an escape, I totally understand. But why not use this interactive medium as a tool to teach empathy? I think some games are starting to do this. Things like The Cat Lady, which is about a middle-aged woman's struggle with chronic depression, and how her roommate, a younger woman who's dying from cancer, teaches her how to live. Oh, and something about killing parasites and some other worldly stuff. But it's the human story at its heart that really makes it work. There are some major releases that have something to say. BioShock Infinite shows us a seemingly perfect city, but where nationalism has become a religion and it's teetering on revolution. The Founding Fathers are worshipped, John Wilkes Booth is glorified as hero of the people, and pretty much everything under the surface is completely messed up. Catherine, a puzzle game by Atlas, follows Vincent, who, in between nightmares of sheep and climbing blocks, must decide between finally committing to his longtime girlfriend or young seductress he just met. This is one of the few games I can think of whose M rating means more than just salty language or exploding heads. It addresses adult relationships in a real and mature way. I'm getting sidetracked. What I'm trying to say is it's okay to enjoy Call of Duty and Grand Theft Auto, and to give credit where credit's due, Ubisoft has let its people do some really cool things with the UBR engine, but we should appreciate that we have options. I know this is becoming a rant, so take one last walk with me here. I love the Halo series, but I was thoroughly disappointed by Destiny. The structure of its loot and its quest system was manipulative, and it felt more like work than anything I would call fun. Its mission design was lazy, and its narrative was laughable at best. I didn't come to this conclusion in a day either. Trust me, I poured tons of hours into this game first before I was able to accept that. But my younger cousin loves it, and I'm really happy that he enjoys it. I would never condescend someone just because they like something I don't. We are suffocating on negativity, and all need to be more open-minded. We need to stop saying dumb things like, "Why don't you rename it the Indie Station 4?" or something stupid like that. Small independent games serve a great purpose. They can fill a gap, servicing customers that aren't getting the type of game that they want, and they're much more willing to deliver a message that larger publishers won't touch. Thanks for watching. If you liked this video, let us know by hitting the like and the subscribe buttons, and leave a comment. You can also follow us on Twitter at 16BitHeart. See you next time.